Uh, yeah, cool. It's recording now.
All right, there we go.
I thought I set up like a Zoom account through my school and I thought I'd get like unlimited time, but it's still that like 40-minute limit or whatever. So
Oh yeah,
we might have to I don't know, restart or whatever, however you do that.
yeah. That'll be totally cool.
Yeah.
Just hop
Sweet.
back in.
Cool. Hell yeah, man. All right. I got to show you one thing before we go, but yeah, this is going to be exciting. I think I mentioned this. I've painted one person on Zoom before. So this will be
What?
my second one. Um, and yeah, no, I'm looking forward to it. But yeah, I started doing this thing recently, and I started doing this because of the conversation we had, and I
Oh
was
hell
thinking
yeah.
about, yeah, I don't know, portraits and Zoom and technology, all these things. And so I've got this projector set up in my studio, and let's see,
Hey.
so that you can see yourself. And the crazy thing, it's like if let's see, if I put like me on there, it's see how it does this like infinite tunnel of Zoom thing.
Oh yeah, yeah.
That
The
like trips
mirroring
me out.
effect.
Yeah. I like started doing this. But anyway, what I'm gonna do with you is what I'm gonna, yeah, do basically what I've been doing with my portraits recently is I've been like projecting them on this paper and then like tracing it. So like it's kind of hard to see, but there's like weird sort of outlines
Oh
of
yeah,
people on
yeah. Kind of in the
there.
background there.
Yeah, and it's gonna be like I'm just gonna keep doing that with every portrait I get, and I don't know what it's gonna be, but it's gonna be something. So
Oh yeah, yeah. Use that kind of as like a point of departure.
right. So yeah, so start before I do the painting. I'm gonna trace this here. Um, so while I'm walking through this, if you want to, usually what I have people do is just kind of like say your name, say a little bit about yourself, and I'll start tracing it.
Hold on. Can you say that one more time? You were
Yeah.
kind of away from
Yeah,
the
sorry.
mic.
I'll just go ahead if you could like say your name, who you are, a little bit about yourself, what's going on in your life, whatever. Just while you're doing that, I'm gonna start tracing it. So
Okay.
yeah,
Yeah, yeah, most definitely.
cool. All right.
Um, I'm good to go now.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, so my name is Imhotep. I'm 26. I'm an artist and designer. Currently, I'm designing some furniture for a company that I've been working for a little while. Um, I live in New York, and I'm relatively new here. I'm basically trying to find my footing, trying to find a good routine, stuff of that nature, and also trying to like I don't know manage my feelings and everything like that uh, as an artistic practice.
Yes. Thank you. That was lovely. Got everything I needed.
Oh, sweet.
Yeah. That's super quick. It's basically just getting like a weird outline, and then I'm just gonna keep adding to it and see what happens. So
Yeah, that'll be super sick. It'll be exciting to see that
no,
as
for sure. Yeah, it's. I've been thinking, I just started like school, and I just like this week is like our second week, and I've had two meetings with like graduate professors just talking about like the work I'm doing, and that's been like really good and really interesting because they've both been like kind of leaning towards like the portrait practice that I do, which is kind of
Yeah.
good because like that's really what I've been enjoying. And so it's like it feels like I should lean into doing stuff more like this, and I'm thinking about like how else I can do it, and whatnot. So yeah.
Oh, that'll be amazing. And that cross pollination with those like I guess the OGs, that'll be real good for ideas and what could happen.
Right. I'm trying to think. I'm trying to figure out how to get. I want your face bigger. I don't want my face right now because I'm trying to. But
uh, there should be a thing on view.
yeah.
Oh, it looks like if you switch it to gallery, it just shows. Could you? I'm playing around too, see if I could.
I'm so bad at Zoom. Like I didn't like I never had a job
Oh,
where we did a lot of Zoom, so like I do not
so
know how it works.
on the three dots next to
Yeah.
my head, you just hit pin.
Oh, cool. Yeah, yeah. I think. Oh, if I let's see. Boom. Yeah. Perfect. There we go.
Hey, there we go.
All right. Awesome. Awesome. All right. Cool.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm super glad you're really diving into this like this stuff, you know?
For sure. For sure. And yeah, it's just like with the portrait stuff. I've been doing it for a while, and now I'm thinking about like new ways to do it, how I can like sort of continue doing it, but like push it even more. So this doing that projector thing is I guess one of the ways I've got so far. But yeah, we'll kind of see yeah what else happens, and then also doing stuff like this on Zoom is kind of like this is just one doing it on Zoom is I could do a portrait of like anyone, like as long as I
Yeah, yeah.
that kind of opens up a lot of possibilities. So yeah, just thinking about different ways to continue what I've been doing, but like do it better.
Yeah, yeah. Is there like a I guess yeah, there's a lot of room to kind of touch on or kind of like look into because I don't know there's so many different ways to kind of like graft onto that practice, you know, and it's like what is the thing that you want to highlight the most
Yeah,
through like the
yeah,
portraiture? That's the
uh-huh,
fun part.
exactly. And I know like for me, the kind of I've been doing this, like the portrait stuff for probably about
Yeah, no problem. All right, sweet.
Good call. Cool.
But yeah, you were saying in response to the self that everyone protects or don't
Yeah.
really let out of the cage.
Oh yeah. I guess I think I was just talking about the personal stuff that just been, even though like I feel like I'm a relatively like open and like vulnerable person who can like really deal with shit pretty well, then it's like even so, you know, I still realize that like I don't know how sort of fragile we are as people. And I don't know, but then also like learning to like sort of embrace the like uncomfortability and the vulnerability, like learning how to embrace those things is like I don't know, it's incredibly important, also like really hard to do because it's uncomfortable and we don't really like it. So
Oh yeah, I've recently stumbled across a difficult situation myself,
mhm.
and it's yeah, managing that, at this point after like a lot of like introspection and all of that stuff, like the situation is really kind of like sad. It's relationship situation stuff,
Yeah,
but
yeah,
I feel like at this point I can appreciate a little bit more of like the moment without being like bitter or like angry or any of those like, I mean they're productive emotions to have, but usually in such like a, I don't know, an intimate like situation, you don't want those to be involved in that situation. You want to have more reflective or mindful kind of emotions kind of inhabit that space.
yeah.
And I feel like I've been I've been trying to be mindful about stuff like that, and like I don't know, I don't know if that might inspire something, or like what would be the result of that, but uh I can kind of like, I don't know, lean into whatever feelings that I'm having without it being destructive. So far,
Yeah. Yeah.
I can't speak on the future, but
Uh, oh yeah, and again, that's hard to do, and I think that's something I don't know if I learned this like yoga or meditation or what exactly it was, but it's like the idea of like you like the feelings and emotions you're having, often being able to like recognize you're having them and like acknowledge them and know that they're okay to have,
ooh,
and
yes,
also know that you don't need to like I don't know, necessarily respond to them. You can just let them like be those emotions. But of course, a lot of emotions being things that like we are going to respond to, like sadness or heartbreak or joy or whatever. Like we're absolutely going to respond to those. But also, yeah, I've
yeah,
like, tried to kind of learn of like I feel like I've gotten pretty good about being like, oh shit, like I'm in a weird place today. Why is this? And sort of like self-assess
ooh,
like
yeah.
what's going on.
Have
Which I
that
think is
dialogue.
yeah, yeah, and yeah, just like be the awareness of those sorts of emotions, and also yeah, having an appreciation of just being like, yeah, I'm going through some shit right now, but like, it's kind of what's that's the way it is, and just learning to like just accept that and sort of deal with it, like that's super important.
Yeah, I mean that's the stuff that makes life like it's
Uh-huh.
always interesting. uh I don't know if it's healthy or not, but to imagine like from like a future perspective
Yeah.
whatever it is that I'm going through in the present,
Mm.
and how it's like, I don't know, it's like I always think about my relationship with like my younger self, and
Yeah.
how there was always like there was so much emotion there, and like I always wanted so many things,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
now I feel like I'm in the place where I wanted to be whenever I was like such a vulnerable, like
Mm.
scared, like young dude.
Mm.
And I'm pretty sure I'll be that now for myself in the future.
Right.
And it's like having that weird future perspective on all of the stuff that I'm dealing with in the present is kind of interesting to have.
Mhm.
And it's helpful because it's like, wow, like Man, I'm really going through it, and it's gonna be very like I don't know, rich to like think back
Uh,
on how like in the mud, you are, and kind of like figuring it out, and
mhm.
to have that future perspective, being like, yeah, I survived that,
Oh yeah.
is always like very
Uh-huh.
like gratifying to have.
Yeah, yeah, and I think like, the older you get, the more you realize like, oh yeah, I've been through this before. I've been through shit before. Like, I'll be able to get through this. And then I feel like it starts like kind of affecting you less. Um, and I don't know, I think because I feel like, yeah, when we were younger, I feel like our younger selves like experienced thing like everything was huge, like, like end of the world kind of shit. And there's something like really fun about that. And I kind of look back and be like, man, I was so like melodramatic about all that shit. But at the same time, it's kind of like, I don't know, I feel like I don't necessarily get affected about stuff as much as I used to, and like part of me is like kind of sad about that. But the other part is like, no, it's okay. Like I'm just, I kind of deal with things differently now, and
Oh yeah, good
there's
perspective to have.
right, right, and it's just like, okay, there's not as much like sort of the naivety of youth anymore, and that's kind of just been replaced. I don't know, by like cynicism of getting older. I don't know, but yeah, I don't know, it's all right. It's definitely the good thing of it is like, yeah, I know I can like just deal with shit now. It's like, yeah, whatever. Like life is
Yeah.
life. It will be hard, and I'll get through it. So yeah.
Yeah, yeah, there's that huge log of experience that's accumulated.
Mhm.
But I feel like one thing that I want to do, which is like the hardest thing, and which is like something that I notice a lot of like um spiritual practices, a lot of alternative ones like appreciate is like like that the creativity of like the child, that's like what
Yeah.
Carl Jung like was
Mhm.
always trying to actually what he kind of embodied, and it's like that it's just huge
Mhm.
creativity, every like I was talking to my boss about this the other day, but like I was getting some coffee one day, and I was sitting outside from the coffee spot, and across the street there was like an old lady that I saw first,
Yeah.
and in direct contrast of her, she was watching this little kid, and he
Mhm.
was like having like a whole experience playing with a bucket. And
Yeah.
like I was like, holy shit, like that guy is like the most creative person on this block, like right now. Like
Mhm.
how,
Yeah.
how can a person hold on to that while still having like that whole log of experiences, but be able to experience everything for the first time?
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
it's a huge undertaking, but I don't
Uh,
know. It might be possible,
yeah, and I
but
think a big part of that I know, I think a lot of as adults we think of children as sort of like silly. And so I think
yeah.
as an adult embracing like silliness and being like, okay,
Oh yeah.
I'm gonna go like play in the rain or like play with a bucket or some shit like that.
Yeah.
And doing stuff that like, adults wouldn't do, but like do shit that like sort of has like a idea of like play to it and sort of letting go
Oh yeah.
the sort of, yeah, the structures of adulthood. Because I think that's like that kid with the bucket. It's like that, you know he's so like in the moment where it's like that bucket is
Oh
like
yeah.
everything, and he's experiencing it, yeah, like it's, yeah, the moon or something. And it's just like, yeah, we kind of lose that as adults, but that doesn't mean we like can't have moments of it. We just gotta like allow ourselves to do it.
Yeah, yeah. The idea of the response, especially in America,
Mhm.
I can't really speak on any other culture, but like the responsible adult,
Mhm.
or I guess most cases, where we are now, like we're definitely really globalized, but
Mhm.
yeah, responsible adult has no room for like imagination anymore, and it's
Yeah,
kind of
yeah,
sad. It's like
yeah.
unless you're an artist or some sort of like designer, blah blah blah. Like we
Mhm.
kind of get to have fun with our imagination. Like we
Yeah,
can be
right,
weirdos.
right.
It's allowed.
Uh-huh. But yeah, a lot of
But
people
like
don't. Yeah.
yeah, yeah, their area of like creative exploration is like mostly confined to like religious practices,
Yeah.
which is like really the only avenue of like active participation and like imagination is
Yeah.
like allowed,
Yeah.
and
Uh-huh.
they don't get to do anything else, you know, and it's kind of sad. Like,
It is. No, it totally is. And like kind of, yeah, I don't know, the idea of like, as a kid, most people draw, build things, do creative stuff. And
oh
then
yeah,
sort of as you get older, most people stop doing that. And then I think, and I think a large reason is like, oh yeah, that's playing around with stuff like that is childish. You grow up, you become, effective, efficient adult doing some sort of job of some sort of like capitalist nature, and you get in the system, and you're a good citizen and all that bullshit. But it's like the sort of play and creativity is like an innately human thing that for some reason like we like as a society have been like, oh yeah, that's not for everybody. That's for like, people who decide to do it or like weird people,
oh yeah,
even though it's like absolutely necessary for like everybody.
yeah. I always say like if you can have dreams, which everyone can have, you know,
Yeah.
you're like the most creative person. You like
Mhm.
everyone is like even a person who can't draw, like
Uh,
creativity is built into like that. That's what makes us human, you know.
right. Yeah, absolutely.
Uh, you know, and for not everyone to be able to like see their ability in that is kind of like, ugh. Whenever I have a conversation and people are like, "Yeah, I'm not a creative person," and it's like, your idea of what being creative is just like so like small, you know, like
Right.
creative is like so loose, you know. You don't have to be like if you have a question, you know, like that's as creative as it gets.
Right. Exactly.
Like
Yeah.
I don't know, and I'm very interested in what it looks like for people to be able to access that creativity, which is kind of why I'm very interested in like these kind of like lived practices,
Mhm. Mhm.
because like I feel like that's like the fundamental one of the fundamental aspects of like always being creative, and
Mhm.
like just seeing that your life is inherently creative. Like
Right. Exactly.
you
Yeah.
have the idea to like get up and go get some coffee, like there's some creativity involved in that, you know.
Absolutely. And like, so yeah, daily things. And I'd say like pretty much like everybody's job has elements of creativity. And they just like don't think of it as such. But it's like very much there. Just not, it's like people think of creativity. It's like, oh yeah, like painting and drawing, that's creative. It's like, okay, that's one way to be creative, but there's like a million ways and we all do it all the time. But yeah, again, we've like
Yeah,
put creativity in that box with art which we've put in its own special place, which is weird.
yeah. There's a book that I haven't read yet that I'm gonna suggest to you,
Yeah.
but it's called right here,
Huh.
Relational
Oh,
Aesthetics.
yeah. That's. I think that's like key in like every art school is
Oh, for real?
relational aesthetics. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
That shit is like rich. I've recently rediscovered it.
Yeah.
Um,
I should check it out again. Yeah. It's been a while since I looked at it, so I should check it out. Yeah.
oh yeah. It's like very like beautiful. It's always been kind of like an inspiration. Whenever
Uh,
I was in school, and a very cool guy professor that I had, probably like one of the most like college classes that I've ever taken.
yeah.
Very loose, very open minded. It was like discussion based.
Yeah.
It was called Other Spaces. I forget the professor's name.
Uh,
Uh, but he dropped relational aesthetics on us, and it was
yeah.
very interesting to me.
Mhm.
That no, actually, he didn't drop it in the class. I reached out to him after the class when I was doing my thesis project. I
Yeah.
was doing research,
Mhm.
and he suggested that I look into that. And
Nice.
I really loved that. Uh, the one of the examples was like this guy who made like a fucking a dinner in a gallery, and that's what it was.
Oh yeah, yeah,
That's what the art piece was, you
yeah.
know. And it's like artwork that acts as, you know, the roots of artwork, which was kind of like a culture building thing, or a
Yeah,
thing that kind of like, I don't know, it really spoke to, I don't know, kind of like the same thing that like festival performances do in like very ancient cultures. Like
yeah.
that's what art should be doing. And
Uh,
you know, like
wait,
very lived in kind of things is like, I don't know, that's
yeah.
like amazing to me.
Elaborate on that idea, like the connection between like festivals and ancient cultures and art. That sounds like fascinating. Can you elaborate?
Oh yeah, most def. I mean, like, another word that I found while I was doing that research for that thesis project was a word called collective effervescence,
Oh, cool.
which is like a, yeah, it's a crazy word
Yeah, it is.
on its
I like
own,
it.
you know.
Yeah.
And it what it basically is that it's that feeling that you get whenever you're in like a space where everyone's doing the same thing,
Uh-huh.
and that could be had in like religious ceremonies.
Uh-huh.
It could be had in um like a music festival where everyone's singing the lyrics to like the
Yeah.
same song that the performer's singing. It's like this very focused channeling of like um collective
Like energy.
uh yeah,
Or,
yeah,
yeah.
exactly.
Uh-huh.
And it's like the same thing that's found in like religious experiences.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
And for that to be, that's something that people don't really have much anymore outside of uh religious space, because like American culture, religion is the way people practice it, the majority of people,
Mm.
it's not the same as like everyday life, you know. Like
Right.
you go to church to get your little nugget and then you go back into the world, you
Right.
know.
Right. They're very separate.
Yeah, yeah, it's like compartmentalized. And like
Right.
what ancient cultures had, or not ancient cultures, but like pre, I don't even know. I'll say ancient cultures because it's easier to
Or
create
even
an
like,
image
I
from
feel like
that.
even like a lot of non-Western cultures, it's
Yes,
more
yes.
integrated. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Not non-Western cultures, like you don't leave your religiosity, and
Yeah.
like to have that experience with your immediate community is
Uh,
like very, very important, you
yeah.
know? And there's not much room for that, and I feel like that's what like really helps build culture. America has a unique problem with that, several unique problems with that, but artwork is like, you know, the thing in common that's like itched on. Like you don't really have to subscribe to having an imagination, you know.
Oh, right.
Yeah, and music is an offshoot of artwork,
Right.
and like you can make some strong ass bonds just by being next to the person experiencing the same thing that you are, you
Yeah.
know. And it's like, holy shit, like
Sure.
how can you commercialize that, or like not commercialize that, but like manufacture that,
Right.
which is a very American thing for me to say, but
Yeah.
like
No, totally.
have it more available, you know.
Yeah, exactly, exactly. But it's interesting because then I also think about like sports. Like that's a
Oh yeah,
very American
sports
thing
is
is
definitely one.
sports. And like I don't give a shit about sports, but like I feel like that and yeah, like religion going to church, that would be the way that people sort of do that collective effervescence. But then it's like weird because like I mean, and even like music and music festivals and a lot of art is very much like related to like consumerism, but like sports especially. And that's like a big reason, like I don't give a shit about it. But it's also like it like so many people are so invested into sports. And that is how they sort of like relate to people. And two strangers will sit next to each other at a football game and be totally like connected through that. And so I guess there is, as much as I sort of disdain American football, like I guess there is some benefit because people are connecting to each other.
Yeah, there's a scene in a movie specifically that that illustrates that really well. Yeah, it was a very cheesy rom-com type movie, but I kind of like it. It
Yeah,
was a guilty pleasure at a time, but
a
it was
movie.
Silver Linings Playbook.
I never saw it, but yeah, I know about it.
Yeah, yeah. There's a scene in that movie where um, there's like a football game. The guy's like super into football.
Yeah.
One of the main characters,
Mhm.
and he sees his like I think it's his therapist there, and
Uh,
his therapist is like um, he's like a some East Asian culture,
okay.
but he's like a therapist, different tax bracket,
Yeah.
different culture completely. But
Uh,
he's there at the football game,
uh,
like with people of his ethnicity, and
mm,
like they all just get along together
yeah. They bond over
because they're
that.
all rooting for the same team, and
Uh,
it's like it's like the most beautiful like union of culture in
yeah.
like in the football way, which is kind of like
Yeah, it's a
it's like
strange thing, but yeah, it's benefit, I guess.
yeah, they turned into a family, and I was like, wow,
Uh,
like those things of culture are just like so interesting, and it's like a football, like you could even think of that in a more dissected kind of like distanced way. Like football is like an invented sport; it hasn't
oh,
even
for
been
sure.
around too long, and like someone came up with the idea that throwing a ball and catching it on an end of a field was
Mhm.
like a cool thing to do, and some people just happen to be really good at it,
Right.
and it's almost a religious experience that's had from that, and it's like,
It is.
wow, you could really find that like literally anywhere.
Yeah, it's a really interesting thing, and I really haven't thought about. I actually kind of like that I'm out here in the middle of nowhere, with no TV, because like I know like football season is starting, and I haven't even thought about it, and I love that. Um, but I don't know, there's something like yeah, I don't know, beautifully communal about like sports and stuff like that for those reasons. But yeah, I don't know. That's good shit to think about. Um,
Oh yeah,
yeah, yeah. So
yeah.
we got the 10-minute mark again, and I'm honestly like this is cool. I like this portrait. It's pretty. I'm trying to I want to basically try to finish up in the next 10 minutes. But you're looking good on this painting, so
Oh, amazing.
I'm curious to see what you think about it. But I gotta figure out it always comes the moment towards the end. I'm like, what are like the final touches it needs? So I'm trying to figure that out.
Hey, juice it out, man. I'm in no rush for
Yeah.
it to resolve itself.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, yeah. The conversation so far is definitely uh a needed kind of thing. I was energy level like 4 out of 100
Okay.
today,
That's
and
very
and this
low.
has me up to like 80.
That's good. That's like if I do my math, that's like a two, no, that's like 20 times. That's it jumped up 20 times.
Yeah,
That's pretty
it's a
good.
lot.
Yeah.
I'm on one right now, so.
All right. Cool. Shit. I feel like when you're done, you're just gonna like walk out the door and be like, I gotta go do some shit now, or who knows?
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
I might work on some stuff late today.
Yeah. Nice.
Like I'm definitely riding on a high,
That's
and
cool.
which is crazy that
Mm.
just conversation
Yeah.
that could be
Yeah.
had.
It's
Sounds cheesy from afar, but like that's just real as
it
fuck.
makes sense.
Like,
Yeah. And it's cool. The portraits that I do, I like them because they do like they get me to do work and they like raise my energy and because it's like I have to do it and that's something I like about doing the in-person portraits is that like basically like it usually takes anywhere from like an hour to 3 hours and but it's like I'm gonna do something in that time and like finish a painting and so it's like
yeah,
I've got to be on and I've got to be interacting and I've got to be painting. It's a kind of really cool exercise for
yeah, yeah, and that's like good incentive. It's
me.
good like you're connecting two things that wouldn't otherwise be connected, and they kind of like they vibe off of each other. Conversation
Mm.
and a creative practice, like
Yeah, yeah.
that's like to do them together and to kind of have them share the same space. Like you
Yeah.
can you can easily Do you know, did we talk about like flow states?
I don't know. I can't I honestly don't remember if we did or not.
I'll assume that we didn't, but like flow states, like, and I didn't think about this before, but you can have them for whatever individual practice. The movie Soul, if I'm
Uh,
correct, it's like a Pixar movie. It
yeah.
captures like,
Okay. I didn't see that, but I heard it was good. I think I should
oh
check
yeah,
it out.
very good. Any creative person should watch that.
Like, sweet, sweet.
Um,
Uh,
or anyone in general who has goals. Any goal-oriented person, like,
any person with goals and ambition, yeah,
yes,
I like it.
yeah, yeah. But that movie illustrates what a flow state kind of looks like,
Uh,
and in I don't think it's much of a spoiler to say, but like it introduced the idea that you can enter like that flow state, which is, I guess it's worth sort of defining a little bit.
yeah.
Basically, whenever you're in like a very like a sweet spot
Mhm.
between like um there's like a it's like an X and Y axis, and one of them is like comfort versus discomfort, and the other
Yeah.
one is like um I forget what it is, but you're basically in a sweet spot, like
Mhm.
right in the middle of these two spaces,
Yeah.
where you're kind of interested in figuring things out. You're kind of uncomfortable, but you're not too uncomfortable,
Yeah.
and you're kind of able to just like keep going. And time feels like it's like gone,
Yeah.
and you're just
Yeah.
kind of going, and you're
Uh-huh.
going on and on and on,
Yeah.
and you kind of lose that self-conscious voice in your head, and
Hmm.
you're just able to transcend like stuff,
Yeah.
and it's a good feeling to have. A lot of people ride off of that whenever they really are in love with what they do.
Mhm.
And that movie kind of introduced me to the idea that uh, you can have that flow state, but for life,
Mhm.
you know? Like, what if you were in there,
Yeah.
in like, yeah, zoom out
Mhm.
further from the creative practice, like, you could just have it as like a living state.
That's crazy. Yeah.
And this conversation that we're having reminds in that state through conversations, like very surreal, and then I tear up whenever I'm talking to someone, whenever we're hitting like a good spot.
Yeah. Yeah.
But like to have that with like a creative process or any other process, like merging two things,
Mhm. Mhm.
is really interesting, because you can kind of ride off of the flow of one thing to
Yeah.
kind of propel it,
Uh-huh. Yeah.
which is what like jamming kind of.
Exactly. Yeah. Very much like jamming or improvising
Yeah,
or yeah, stuff
yeah,
like
yeah.
that. Yeah. And even like I don't know if I've ever actually like consciously thought this, but like doing these portraits and like talking to someone while I'm doing it, like I'm barely thinking, well, I'm definitely thinking about like the painting, but it's like I'm kind of tricking myself to not think about it.
Yeah,
That's
yeah,
way
yeah,
better than just like if I'm working from a photo, it's a lot more focused on the photo, and it's just like it's like a different result, you know?
yeah, yeah. You're like splitting off in the two places in
Yeah,
like a
yeah.
very like it's the most productive way you could do that,
Hmm. Hmm.
and it's kind of interesting to think about because I haven't thought about that before. It's almost like what listening to music and working at the same time is, but like in a less to a less like interactive extent,
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And I don't know. And it is cool because I've learned so much from people and about people doing these. And that's always fun. Like painting someone, I really get to know them just because we're talking for a couple hours. And that's always pretty great.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And to be able to like capture whatever those
Hmm.
moods,
Hmm.
conversations, thoughts
Right, right.
in the form of like color and all of that is really cool.
Uh, yeah.
But yeah, I have a friend, Caleb,
Mm.
one of my buddies, like brother shit.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, we always have kind of like conversations on like how to facilitate like a space that affords the whole.
Cool.
Oh, there we go. You're back.
Yeah, yeah. Uh-huh.
Yeah, yeah, but it like spaces that kind of facilitate that collective effervescence vibe, and
Yeah.
um
Have you found spaces where you can do that? Have you figured it
oh
out?
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. We kind of like
Mm.
borrow from like how in religious spaces you kind of like that, you can't beat that. A religious
Yeah.
space has like its set of like uh rules
Mhm.
that you just inherently know, and you can
Yeah.
kind of graft some of those ideas. Like
Okay.
museum spaces copy religious spaces in a
Uh-huh.
way, you
Uh-huh.
know. Religious spaces, museum spaces, spaces like that that have those rules before you
Mhm.
go into them, you
Mhm.
kind of like, you can let go a little bit if you do
Yeah.
it right. Sometimes they make people a little too self-conscious,
Right.
but if you do it right, you can let go and become guided by that like weird mediating like social rule, you know.
Oh,
and
gotcha.
and the goal is to have that social rule make people comfortable.
Mhm.
And my friend Caleb is working on this project that's based on like picnics, and how they're like these very wholesome experiences. There was this one picnic that we had at what was it? It was like Manil Park.
Oh, nice. Yeah.
um, and I was visiting Houston. There you go.
Nice.
Um, oh yeah, yeah. So the Caleb, yeah, like I was visiting Houston, and I wanted to have like a park day, and we were having it at like Manil,
Yeah.
but it's always hard inviting all of my friends, you know, because sometimes I forget some
Yeah.
people in certain occasions or whatever. And I was like, okay, it might just be a good idea to post the location on Instagram
Yeah.
and just like see who comes.
Uh,
And to my surprise, like some people who I've only met through Instagram like ended up showing up.
yeah, that's
And it was
cool.
like it was amazing because it was just like a mixed bag of friends,
Yeah.
and people were meeting people for the first time, and it was just like extremely wholesome.
Nice.
And like my friend Caleb is going to do this thing where he like hosts these like picnics, and I don't know, he just has a lot of cool ideas to
Mhm.
kind of like pack a punch that whole like concept.
Yeah.
And I don't know, it'll be very interesting, and he's going to be doing it like exclusively for like spring summer seasons, you know.
Nice. So,
So I think that's like a it adheres to that seasonal aspect that's really
yeah.
cool, you know. It allows for some like, I don't know, uh time consciousness,
Mhm.
and
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
intentionality, and like appreciating things in a certain time, which is like hard to do now where we have access to everything that we want whenever we want it, you
Yeah.
know. It's
We
like that doesn't, yeah.
very spoiled people now. Yeah.
Yes, yes, yes.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think stuff like that is very cool
Yeah.
to kind of like, I
Uh,
don't know, it's very available, that collective effervescence. People crave it a lot, and there are healthy ways to have it. You know, people have it in clubs. You know, people have it in like bars. People have it in here, there. I
uh,
mean, every once in a while is cool, but for that to be like the spot that you get it from instead of like a religious space or whatever, it's
right.
not as like positive. You know, they're positive in their own regard, but you know,
Yeah.
can't do
Uh,
that all the time.
exactly. Exactly. Yeah. And then it's cool thinking about like I don't know, kind of relating that to like me doing these portraits and thinking about like just creating a space for people just to be like comfortable and whatnot. And even and this is interesting. I've been teaching a class. I'm wondering if I can
Oh
somehow
hell yeah!
create spaces for that, like in a classroom. That's what
Whoa,
I want
that is some Yoda shit, you know?
to do.
How's the teaching going?
It's good. It's good. I honestly I love teaching. It's a funny thing. It's very much like that the sort of flow state because I taught like two classes last week. I'll have two this week. It's Wednesday, Thursdays every week. It's a drawing class. I love it. But it's funny because like there are moments when I'm like mid class, I'm talking about whatever drawing, and I'll kind of like be doing it and then think like in my head like, oh yeah, I'm teaching right now, like I'm doing it.
Oh, that's so sick.
And it's
Yeah.
it's basically it's like once that class starts, I'm like going, and it's kind of like
It's like autopilot.
it really is. It's such a weird thing. And then it's like the funny thing of like when it's over, I'm kind of like, I hope I did that. Like, I hope I did. Like, I hope I did what I was supposed to do. And I
Yeah.
think I did, but I never really know.
Yeah, yeah. And that's a really cool feeling too, because
Yeah.
that's like you're almost like channeling, your like archetypal teacher
Yeah.
situations.
Yeah.
The
Right.
scenario
Yeah.
offers that archetype for you to embody.
Right.
And
And it is like the thing of like, you hear this like with any sort of skill that people do, and especially I always think about it with funny talking about sports again, but think about like a quarterback. Like a quarterback, when he's playing, he's not thinking about, oh, I should throw the ball to this person. It's happening like immediately, and he's done all the work beforehand to just do that without thinking.
oh man.
It's like I hope with teaching I've done enough work beforehand that like what's happening is like good and helpful. Um,
Yeah, yeah, yeah. You're
uh,
you're you're in the game day phase of your
yeah,
artist practice.
right. That's
The pee-wee practices are over, You're like you're
yeah,
you're 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 in the field making the
we're in the
plays.
big leagues, for sure. Yeah, yeah,
And
yeah.
that's like I don't know. Hearing you say that is very like uh I don't know. It's very like positive for me to hear,
Yeah.
because I really like the idea of like the teacher role, and,
Mm,
and to hear you say that it's just
yeah,
kind of like it just came out of you, is like very like I don't know. I hope that's what teachers feel like.
yeah. Well, I think it depends. I think a lot of teachers, it's I don't know. There are a lot of teachers I've worked with and know, and we can all think of like the shitty teachers we had. It was like they were on like autopilot, but in like the worst way. They were just like they were also mindless, and like that shit's the worst, the worst. But
Yeah.
I don't know. And I don't know. I think teaching is a special thing that, like art, doesn't get enough credit, and people don't appreciate as much. And we are all teachers to each other, like, but we don't think about that.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, I mean, and that's such a huge aspect of like what I do and sort of how I think, and like, yeah, I mean, I love it. So.
Do you have like a specific approach or
Um,
anything that you kind of reference to be that teacher?
I mean, the on one hand, like my approach to teaching is what I call the spaghetti method, and you just throw shit at the wall and see if it sticks. And basically, like I want to like kind of overwhelm my students with information and just give them like here's a bunch of stuff that and hope that sticks in their head. But then like I think like basically the reason that I still do art today is like my high school art teacher. And so I think like whenever I talk to people about, art and education, and even if they're artists or not, people pretty much always say like, oh yeah, I had a cool like high school art teacher. And it's like I
Yeah.
like being that role is like that's kind of what I'm going for. And like I want to do that and I'd love to do that. So yeah, just being like a positive, role model that people can sort of look up to.
Yeah, yeah. And there's like an interesting like there's a sort, and I've been abusing the word like spiritual and like religious words, but I think they need to be abused more. But like bringing the religion outside of like church or like mosque or whatever.
Yes. Yes.
But like the teacher, the high school art teacher is kind of like that first introduction to like I don't know, that Yoda spiritual
Mhm.
dude, especially
Mhm.
if it's a good one, because like you don't know what the fuck you're doing or
Right.
why,
Uh-huh.
but at the end of it, you feel like you made something important,
Yeah.
and they help you along that way, and you're kind of like giving up some agency for like the teacher's idea of like what should be happening, you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah.
And if the teacher does it right, then you're like, holy fuck, like how did I make this? Like, how did
Exactly.
I do this shit?
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah. And that's like a good teacher will kind of like let you feel comfortable and having no idea what you're doing. And then
Yes.
when you're done with it, you like almost don't know how you did it, but it was like a good teacher will like make sure you keep doing it, and
Yeah.
push through that. Because yeah, I mean, a lot of times, a lot of people just like they wouldn't follow those things through. They need someone to push them, and so that's what like a good teacher does.
Yeah, yeah, that teacher, his name wasn't Mark. I think it was Martin. It was
Martin,
Martin Nook.
yeah,
Yeah, he was like he was very much so a complete weirdo.
nice,
And
good,
he embodied that like to the
yeah,
furthest extent. Like
yeah,
a lot of the people who were taking his class were taking it as like a prerequisite to something,
yeah,
and he was very mysterious in his like method. Like he would tell people to like sometimes people would draw with their feet. Like he would have a day where we
nice,
would all draw with everything that was in our hands. We do like
yeah,
finger
yeah,
painting.
uh-huh.
We would flip
Shit.
things upside down and
I
like
might
pass it to our
I might do
classmate.
that tomorrow, like because I've been kind of thinking about like ways to get students like to just draw weird shit. I might do that tomorrow. So
Yeah.
thank you. That's a great idea.
Yes. Yeah. His whole thing was like he would walk around. He'd be like, yeah, you need to loosen up. Sometimes he would like let me see your piece of charcoal, your pencil, and he would like will mark it up for you, and you'd be like, yeah, yeah. He'd be like, try and work off of that, you know. And
Nice.
then he'd just walk around and terrorize people. He'd be like, yeah, you're a little too tight, and people would be like, what the fuck does that mean? It's like
Yeah,
I am loose, you know.
dude,
He'd be like, nah, it's like loosen up a
that is
little bit, you
me.
know.
That is me. Like, especially with the students I'm teaching, they're non-art people, and a lot of them this is like their kind of intro to art, and so a lot of
Yeah,
them I'm kind of like I'm always just pushing them and like you can do more, you can do more. Like look for weirder things, do weirder stuff is usually what I'm telling them,
yeah.
and that's yeah,
Yeah. It's like abstract it a little bit more. Like really,
yeah.
really like open yourself up to like the gesture more than like the
Yeah.
image.
Yes, and
Like,
it's funny because they have like no idea what that means, but they try to like figure it out, and it's awesome. I love it. So yeah, yeah,
yeah, and being able to be that like you're almost like teaching them a completely new language
right.
to like
Yeah.
communicate like their ideas, you know?
Mhm.
Because like
Mhm.
people usually whenever you give someone a pencil and a piece of paper, they the way they think through those ideas are like hard lines.
Yeah,
Like you tell them to draw a circle, they'll draw a circle with like one stroke.
yeah,
But what the I don't know, like the art teacher's role is kind of like breaking habits, creating new ones, and like abstracting completely.
right, right.
And it's
Yeah.
really cool to see someone work from that to
Mhm.
a more loose definition of what it means to make a mark, you
Mhm.
know?
Mhm. Oh, for
Like
sure.
what it means like an eraser, like you don't have to use an eraser as like a something that removes. It can be an additive,
Right.
like inverse process, or like thinking of anything as a mark
Yeah.
that you're
Yeah.
making. You know, like
Uh,
your marks are your tools to
mhm.
create an image. You
Mhm.
can scratch something into a page and use that to like define a boundary, and I
Yeah.
don't know. There's some real weird
No, for
stuff
sure.
that can
Like
be found in like
can you be a guest in our class? I can just zoom you in and you can say exactly what you're saying and like that.
holy
That'd be
shit.
awesome.
Oh man, I would be honored. Like
I mean, that because I have been thinking like I know a lot of artists. Like I could probably have guest speakers. So I might let you know if I need a guest speaker because like just like talking about stuff like that would like again confuse them, but also kind of like get them thinking, which is just what I want. So
No, yeah, that's
yeah.
whenever they let Jesus take the wheel, you know? Give them enough
Yeah.
fuel for them to just like let go of the wheel and then have that shit to be an automatic process.
Right, right. Yeah. Oh man, that's good. That's good. Yeah. I think I'm done with this portrait.
Oh shit.
Want to see it?
Oh, of course.
I don't know how well it's going to come up on Zoom, but
Oh, that is amazing.
yeah, 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 there we go. Yeah,
Yeah, that's me
it's cool.
completely.
You think so? You think so?
Oh, of course,
I think
yeah.
it's pretty good. Yeah.
I'm like in conversation,
Hmm.
you know?
Yeah.
And then you have some words that
I
seem
did.
like they're kind of ghosted
I,
in there.
I took some notes. What you were saying, mind game. Oh, the architect Peter, was it
Peter
Zumathor?
Zumthor, yeah.
Zumthor, and then Marshall
Marshall
Ariel.
Arisman.
There's because I was like, I want to look these people up, and then collective effervescence. I
Oh
wrote,
hell yeah.
yeah, yeah, and it was cool. Like, I like this. This blue was just what I painted on there before, and I was just like, I want to leave some of that in. I like it kind of like
Oh yeah.
through. Yeah, yeah. But I'll
Yeah.
get you a good photo of this and send it to you. Um,
Oh, that I would be honored.
yeah, absolutely. Yo, thank you so much for sitting for the portrait. And yeah, it was great chatting again. It's very enjoyable talking to you, man.
Oh man, much appreciated, dude. I'm extremely honored to be
Yeah,
like a
no problem.
subject, you
Yeah.
know, like I know a lot of thought goes into, I
Mm,
don't know, just putting stuff into an image. So yeah,
yeah.
I'm glad to be exposed into that image
Yeah.
that you
I mean,
created.
you did all the work. Is your image. I just, sort of put it down. You're doing the hard work.
Yeah.
I appreciate it. Yeah. But yeah, well, thank you, thank you. Yeah, and anytime if you ever want to chat again, I'm down. These are very
Oh,
enjoyable. So yeah,
yeah, most definitely, man.
yeah, yeah, cool. Well, if you got that energy, go do something cool.
I'm gonna run off with it. You don't know what you started.
Oh, good, good. I do good things, do good things in our time.
Oh yeah, only,
Yeah,
only.
of course, yeah. And I'll send you the recordings and a good photo of this.
All right, most definitely, man. I'll catch you in the future.
Yes, sounds good. Take care, man.
All right, see you later.
Bye.